Happy 2025, everyone. It's the new year. Beat the Bears.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you are watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, it's always free. You know I always appreciate your support. So, how many of you have already broken your New Year's resolution? One day into it, right? Here's how you don't mess up. That's why not to screw up. Be like me. Don't make any resolutions without at least crossing your fingers behind your back. That gives you an out. You didn't really mean it. Anyways, USC and the Missouri State Bears, they'll be playing football August 30th at the Coliseum. When I know the actual kickoff time, I'll let you know. You'll probably find out the same day I do. But hey, it's time to start the countdown clock. Just 241 more days to go before USC and Missouri State, the Bears, will be playing inside the LA Coliseum. Did you watch the beginning of the Boise State versus Penn State playoff game? Happen to catch it? It was actually right at the very beginning of the game. When the announcers were talking about how good Penn State's defense is, specifically their run defense. They were highlighting Ashton Jeanty, Boise State's running back, the Heisman runner-up. They were talking about he had 12 runs this season that went for 50 yards or more. That's an incredible number. Penn State had only allowed one run all season long that went for 50 yards plus. That's when USC's name was mentioned. Yeah, USC. And yes, it did happen on a reverse, but it was still a running play. So it still counts. So I know it was kind of tongue-in-cheek when the Penn State coach was saying, hey, that we shouldn't really count that. But guess what? It counts. And also, before Ashton Jeanty played against Penn State in the playoff game, USC was the only team to have a running back run for a C-note against the Nittany Lions. Yeah, Woody Marks was the first and only running back to run for over 100 yards against Penn State's vaunted run defense. So I guess we could say at least USC has that going for itself. I mean, imagine if USC decided to run the ball more frequently and if they covered their tight end in that game this year. Anyways, I'm not going to go there. The pain from that gut punch loss still shows up every now and then. And that was the game when Lincoln Riley said it was a gut punch. Anyways, we'll bury that, put that away for right now. That, for me, was most definitely the most frustrating loss in 2024. I mean, think about it. They picked off Drew Allar 3 times. USC led 20-6 at halftime. They had the lead with 5 minutes, 30 seconds, roughly plus minus 10 seconds in the fourth quarter, in the game. And what was so frustrating is that USC should have, they could have, they would have, they should have won that game. They were able to run on Penn State when they had to, when they needed to, when they wanted to. So when the Missouri State Bears show up in 241 days, that's what I want to see. I want to see a new Lincoln Riley. I want to see a new USC offensive identity. That's what we're talking about in this first segment. In 2025, USC needs to identify themselves as a run-first team. And I'm going to close. This is going to be a full circle about the run game. Make sure you stick around for the second and third segments. You'll understand. Trust me. I'm kind of telling a little story here as we go along. Setting it up for a big climactic finish. Yeah, one of those. So, again, I would love to see USC in 2025 identify themselves. We are going to be a run-first team. That will be Lincoln Riley's new offensive identity. I've asked him before. Hey, he said, we're the number 1 scoring offense. I need him to be a little bit more specific now. So you got Brian Jackson, you got Amarian Peterson, Eli Sanders, the transfer coming in from New Mexico, the speedster. And then you got the two rookies, Harry Dalton and Riley Wormley. In 2024, Woody Marks ran for 1,133 yards. He could have ran for more had he gotten more opportunities. As a team, check this out. USC finished, running the ball. They averaged 5.16 yards per rushing attempt. That was good for number 23. That would have made them the 23rd best rushing team in the country based on yards per carry. Among the top 50 teams in average per carry, the Trojans were the only one to not average at least 150 rushing yards per game. Think about that. You're averaging 5 yards per touch when you run the ball. 2nd and 5. That means you got a first down the next time you run it. Again, let me repeat the stat. Among the top 50 teams in average per carry, USC was the only team to not average 150 yards per game. And that's because USC finished number 129 in the country rushing attempts per game. They were ahead of only 5 teams. They were ranked 82nd rushing yards per game. I know I've mentioned this in the past, but that is perhaps the most frustrating stat of the year. I can't think of another one. Can you? Besides the losses? It's frustrating because everyone saw it. Everyone saw that, you know what? When USC runs the ball, good things happen. When USC runs the ball, they're controlling the game, the tempo. They're keeping the other team's offense off the field. They're shortening the game. This goes back to Coach Riley's clock management. Why I suggest an offensive coordinator, play caller, so Coach Riley can focus on that detail, clock management. But anyways, again, when USC runs the ball, good things typically happen. 2025, new offensive identity. People are going to recognize Lincoln Riley as a guy who wants to run the ball only. He'll throw the ball occasionally. I know that'll never happen. But a little bit more balance with the leaning towards the run game. And I think that fits well in the big conference. Again, stick around the third segment. You'll understand why. I can only imagine how good or what USC's record would have been in 2024 had they leaned into the run game. Had they made life a little bit easier for their quarterback and their young offensive line that progressed and got better as the season went along. But we won't know. But we will know if they start doing that next season. So we'll have, like I said, we got 241 days to find out who USC will be. But I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are too. All right, a couple more segments coming. Here we go. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games, that's got to be an incredible experience. And that's going to bring fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games, even though USC never participated. And I cannot wait to make some new memories with this new updated format, extra teams involved. And who knows, maybe one day USC will be in the playoffs next year, right? Yes. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks. And that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the stuff, all the fluff. It's only going to show you incredible deals, great seats. So now you're not going to waste your time searching through thousands of different tickets. I know the USC football season is over, but the basketball season is in full effect. The men host Michigan this weekend. Have you seen Juju Watkins in person yet? Get over to Game Time. Go to their app. Get your tickets. You already know I love the seat view. That's one of their features. So you can actually see what you're going to see from your seat before you check out. And the app also shows you your total cost up front. So that you know there's not going to be any surprise fees at checkout. But the on-time ticket delivery, It also gives you the lowest price guarantee. That's going to make everything super easy for you. And again, if you find a ticket in the same section in row for less, 110% of the difference is going to be credited right back to you. So here's what you got to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms are going to apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Who was your favorite linebacker to ever play at USC? And look, you got a long list to choose from. This is like picking your favorite pizza slice versus the best cooked steak you can have. You want both, but you can only pick one. Easy question, right? I guess there's just way too many to choose from. I could literally spend 10 minutes just saying the names without any commentary. Not going to do that, though. So how far do you want to go back? Talk about Richard Batman Woods, 3-time All-American. Not bad. I've had Keith Biggers on this show before. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, friend. By the way, Keith played on that 1984 roster that featured Jack Del Rio, Dwayne Bickett. Like I said, USC's had some really good linebackers throughout the years. How about Junior Seau? Chris Claiborne, 55. Matt Grudegood. Clay Matthews. Lopa Tatupu. How about Ray Mealuga? That 2008 USC roster, crazy loaded. In fact, that might be one of the best all-time greatest defenses in the history of college football. You go back and look, that team gave up less than 10 points per game. And I still don't understand how they did not make the championship game. I'm not going there right now. But 5 guys from that linebacker room in 2008 and on that roster, 5 guys that were in that linebacker room, they went on to the NFL and became stars. Let me go over these names. You tell, and I'll tell you who made the NFL. So you had Mike Morgan, you had Chris Gallipo. He was a 5-star. And if he didn't have a back injury, who knows what happens with him? Malcolm Smith, remember him? NFL. In fact, Super Bowl MVP. How about, remember Uwana Kafenga? Nick Garrett? Ross Cummings? Ray Mealuga? Kaluka Mayava? Name should sound familiar, right? Brian Cushing? Clay Matthews? Those final 4 that I mentioned? NFL. Look, I know everyone wants Chris Claiborne to get a chance being USC's linebacker coach, including me. Love to see it happen. But I'm going to throw out a name, and I know it's not going to happen, but I'm throwing it out there for conversation's sake. What about Brian Cushing? Like I said, I know he'll never be a USC football coach, but imagine having that dude as your position coach. You better have on your big boy pants, and you better leave your feelings at home. I know Nick Saban, when he tried his hand being the head coach for the Miami Dolphins, he kind of got into Manny Wright's feelings. You know what happened there. But Brian Cushing, just imagine if he was USC's linebacker coach, or just on the staff in general. Brian Cushing's the type of guy who would challenge one of his players, literally, to go one-on-one in an Oklahoma drill. And Brian Cushing, he wouldn't put on a helmet. He would just leave it to the side. I mean, he headbutted some dude in the NFL who kind of got under his skin without his helmet on. But dude was a psycho. Tough as nails. That guy literally personifies physicality, toughness. I mean, he's literally one mean SOB when those pads came on. I have been having a great time watching some of his video clips on YouTube, on X, whatever social media you can find it on. But Brian Cushing, when he's emasculating his teammates, kind of like he did with former LSU running back Alfred Blue, it was during a Houston Texans minicamp. He just kept calling out Blue, and he just kept wrecking him. Go check it out. Type it in, Brian Cushing, Alfred Blue, Houston Texans. You will giggle your butt off, I promise you. I just saw one recently with Cushing and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins from the Houston Texans. Looks like they were maybe sitting in a team meeting setting, that type of environment. And out of nowhere, Hopkins asks Cushing, "Do you drink lattes?" Cushing says, "I don't even go to Starbucks." Hopkins is like, "It's great, bro." Brian Cushing responds, "I used to. Then I realized I wasn't a chick." Sorry. I enjoy that type of humor, wit, comebacks, smack talk. I don't care how misogynistic it was. I really don't. No one will ever accuse Brian Cushing of being a soy boy. Or that if he was a coach, I guarantee you no one will call out any of his players for being soft. Because he won't stand for it. He will make sure you are not soft. You are hard as a rock. That you will stand up to anybody who challenges you. So again, I don't necessarily need to see Cushing on the, as a linebacker coach per se, but I wouldn't mind having him on the USC staff. I mean, he kind of takes Coach Ed Orgeron to another level. And I know there's been some speculation that Brian liked to, I don't know, take his vitamins. Maybe that's the best way to put it. He did take his vitamins. Like I said, that's the type of dude you don't mess around with. When he says something, you either do it or you better stand up to him and tell him why you're not going to do it. And you better win that fight. Because 9 times out of 10, Cushing is going to win. I don't know. I just thought this would be something fun to talk about. It's the New Year's. And why not? That's the one thing that I think USC has been missing up until recently. This year, they looked physical. They looked like they had that grit to them. They had that gooch bully attitude. They can still do more. Get bigger. And when you're bigger and stronger, you can bully people around. So I think Brian Cushing would be a great addition to making USC mean, physical again. He just has that attitude. Why not, right? If not Cushing, who else? The NFL playoffs are almost here. But you know what? It's not too late for you to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And FanDuel has a bunch of ways for you to pick up a W. Get that win. First win of 2025. You don't just have to bet on which team's going to win the game. You can also bet on who's going to score a touchdown. How many points will each team score? So if you're into prop bets, get on over to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just visit FanDuel.com today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance to win $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so I told you I'm gonna wrap this whole thing up, kind of make it a full circle. I'm gonna go over some numbers, and you'll understand where I'm going with this here in just a minute. Remember the wide receiver, Chris Carter, played for the Minnesota Vikings. Chris Berman used to say all Carter does is catch touchdowns. He used to do the fastest 2 minutes at halftime. USC has their own version of Chris Carter. Eric McKinney, my partner in crime, one of my partners in crime over there at WeUSC.com, he dialed up his research and he put together some numbers that are just crazy. Did you know that Jacoby Lane finished the season with 12 touchdowns? True. He finished the season literally like he was Chris Carter. He didn't catch a pass in the game against Nebraska at home, but his final 3 games, check this out. These are his last 11 receptions of the season, going all the way through the bowl game. 4-yard touchdown, 12-yard touchdown, 6-yard touchdown, 8-yard touchdown, 30-yard touchdown, 17-yard touchdown. Okay. 6 straight receptions with a touchdown. That's crazy. I don't think that's, it might have happened before at USC. I don't know if it's ever happened before at USC. Let me continue. So when he wasn't catching touchdowns, he caught a 7-yard catch, first down. 14-yard reception, first down. 15-yard reception, I believe for a first down. 33-yard reception, first down. 11-yard reception, first down. I don't dive into the whole fantasy football stuff real heavily. I'm not that guy. But 6 straight catches for a touchdown is, I believe that you young people will say that's sick. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. The 12 touchdowns this season actually matches the total for Brendan Rice last year. And it would actually rank tied for number 4 nationally this year with some pretty big names you might recognize. The wide receiver Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State. Yep, he's tied with him. Eric Rivers at Florida International. There's another one. Those 12 receiving touchdowns in the season ties him for 7th on USC's single season list with Brendan Rice, Dwayne Jarrett, and Nelson Aguilar. This is just another reason why I think Coach Riley needs to fall in love with the run game, play action, because that type of stuff sets up that type of production at wide receiver. And if you do more play action, maybe line up your quarterback under center, you might even see more of it. Just saying. I'm going to say it again. I think I said it on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC. My everydayers, let me know. If Jacoby Lane dedicated himself to being the best wide receiver in the country, I mean, literally just put that effort into it, watch out. Unstoppable. Lane's going into his junior campaign in 2025. Some would call this his NFL contract year. If he blows up and carries those final 3 games into 2025, and he goes off in a similar fashion, Jacoby's going to be a very, very, very rich man in the NFL. Now, this next stat just blows me away, and it's why USC needs to be a run-first team. I cannot emphasize this enough. 1 holding call by an offensive lineman on a running play. Okay. USC played 13 games this season. There were 770 rushing attempts combined between USC and their opponents during those 13 games. During those 770 rushing attempts, there was exactly 1 holding penalty that was enforced against an offensive lineman. That came in game 2 of the season against Utah State. It was their left tackle. That's it. That's the only holding call that was enforced by an offensive lineman in 13 games on either side of the ball. On either side, I should say. Now, okay, let this sink in. Let this sink in. And again, more flowers of Josh Henson. And give a little bouquet to Zach Hansen, who's also been involved with the offensive line. There was not 1 enforced holding penalty against a USC offensive lineman in 2024 in 13 games. Yeah, that's crazy. And it's another reason why you want to run the ball in the big conference. They don't call holding. They just don't. I was talking about that during the early portions of the season. I was, did you notice there weren't any holding calls? I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not going to remind everybody that. Well, yes, I am. USC blew 5 fourth quarter leads. How good would USC be? How good could USC have been in 2024 if they didn't give up those leads? In 5 of USC's 6 losses, USC held the lead in the fourth quarter. In 2 of those games, USC held the lead and the ball in the fourth quarter. In that 6th loss, yeah, you know the one I'm talking about at home against Notre Dame, USC was down by 7 points. Ball at the Notre Dame 21-yard line. Yeah, we know what happened after that. Anyways, I know maybe Coach Riley was right. USC was close to being a really good team in 2024. They just didn't quite get over the hump. But maybe if they run the ball, make that their new offensive identity. Who knows what happens in 2025? Their offensive linemen are being developed. No holding calls. Just a handful of illegal procedure penalties. And I think most of those are on the plains of Auburn right now. So we'll see what happens in 2025. Once again, everybody, let's just say Happy New Year. Let's make 2025 the best year of our lives. And once again, thank you so very, very, very much for making Locked On USC your first listen every day, helping this community to continue to grow, this channel to continue to grow. Let's get this thing to 10,000 before spring camp. All right? Once again, thank you, everybody, for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. I wouldn't be here without you. I do this because of you, for you, because I want to. So until then, everyone, 241 days, kickoff. Missouri State beat the Bears. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.